my question is, what's the difference between Bradley Cooper and Russell Crowe? So now, I'm not trying to trivialize this at all. I honestly believe that there are lessons to be learned from every aspect of society and culture if you want to. And I really like thinking about supposedly non-related things and applying lessons that I learned from one or the other. So I really like both these actors. As yesterday I talked about that I really like Russell Crowe. I also like Bradley Cooper. I think he's had a very interesting life story. But they're both very, very different. So Bradley Cooper, he's okay, his life story is that, well, he's from Philadelphia. He went to Georgetown University, just like my husband, for undergraduate school. Then he went to New York to the Actors Studio, and he got a master's degree in acting, which is kind of rare. Normally people don't do that and then, become superstars, but he did. He struggled. He, had bit roles in Sex and the City and all kinds of little things, and I think Alias. And then he worked hard and he made it. So he had the Hangover series, and then he did more serious roles with Limitless and American Sniper, and now most recently with Lady Gaga, the musical. So he's had a very interesting career. He's won a lot of awards. Oh, also Silver Linings Playbook. He's had many, he's an Oscar nominated, celebrated actor. But if you look at his life story and you look at his personality and who he is, he's very different from Russell Crowe, who, as I talked about yesterday, he comes from a working class New Zealand and Australian background, really not privileged at all, and he's not an American, but he won Oscars and he made it in Hollywood. So that journey from New Zealand and Australia all the way to America is different. I'm not trying to say that it's worse or better than that of Bradley Cooper's, but they're very different, okay, right? And so I was trying to think, okay, superficially, these are all the differences between them. But what's the real difference? I've watched their interviews and I've thought about it. So they're very different. They come across and they seem very different. They're very talented and they've worked hard and have a good career, but they're very different. And what's that difference? So the difference for me is that Bradley Cooper plays the game and Russell Crowe does not. That's the difference. So what do I mean by that? Well, when Bradley Cooper was, doing well and in the limelight, he did everything that is expected of a movie star. He went on Ellen, he cracks the jokes, he goes on late night shows, he's buddy with all the right people. When he did American Sniper, and people on the right thought that he's a Republican because they sort of, projected Kyle onto Bradley, and they thought that he's actually a Republican. Well, then Bradley Cooper made sure that he was seen at the Democratic Party convention, that he gave money to Barack Obama and other Democratic Party leaders, that he completely immediately quelled any kind of talk that he was a Republican. He always makes sure that he's seen with the right people doing the right things that is expected in Hollywood. I don't know what he really feels, but he always plays the game in that way. Russell Crowe, on the other hand, refused to do that. So his peak came in the early 2000s, and both of them drink, by the way. Both of them are party boys. Both, Bradley Cooper did it so much that he had to then stop, and he gave up drinking. But so it's not like, one is like a goody two shoes and the other is not. Both of them were. But Russell Crowe was never politically correct, and he didn't care about it. And so he was termed Hollywood bad boy. He said that he hates that phrase because that's not true at all. But that's what he was labeled as. And they decided that you're not playing the game, and so we're going to reject you. And we're going to not give you an award, the Oscar award for A Beautiful Mind. I mean, that was not based on merit. That was completely politics, because he would get angry, he would speak his mind, he wouldn't go on Ellen and the late night shows, he wouldn't, go to their parties, he wouldn't do that. And so there's a real difference then, because merit is not valued then. It's about other things like popularity, fitting in, conforming. And so when I look at this particular issue with how they're changing elections, when I look at Vermont, and when I look at, here we are trying to make change. Here I am embarking on this statewide campaign, and I'm trying to make a difference, and I'm saying all these things. So the question is, I was thinking, the question, Meg, is the question, do you want to play the game or do you not want to play the game? Do you want to go the way of Bradley Cooper or Russell Crowe? And I think that's not correct. I've been thinking about it. I think the question isn't that, do you want to play the game? I don't think that's the right question. The right question is, how do you want to play the game? Because you have to play. If you want to make a difference, if you want to step into the arena, which I want to and I have, if you want to reform and you want to have that course correction, you've got to engage with the people who are already around, the players. You've got to play the game. But then how are you going to do it? That's the question. And that's what I'm trying to answer. So I want to do it on my own terms. I want to do it by defining my own rules and saying, no, I'm not going to kiss all the political rings. I saw a comment on Vermont Digger, which really stayed with me, one of the articles, about how there are politicians who really are really striving to kiss the right political rings, to stay relevant, to stay in power, to win and curry favor with all the elites in Montpelier. I don't want to do that, I don't want to do that, but at the same time, I don't want to make the mistake that Russell Crowe did, which is allow other people to define me and then constantly have to keep fighting that. For him, it was Hollywood bad boy. For me, it is, right-wing ideologue or, far right, too conservative for Vermont. All those, there's so many different variations to that. I think that's the main one. I don't want to allow them to define me and then spend all my time trying to push that out and say, no, that's not who I am. No, I'm very clear about who I am. I know why I'm running, and I want there to be a course correction. I absolutely do. The reason why the theme of our campaign is small towns, big hearts is because I wanted first and foremost to define who we are. What do we stand for comes second. Who we are is first. And there's a distinction between the Burlington metropolitan area. Again, I don't mean any offense, or I'm not calling out anybody who's actually there. I'm talking about the leaders. I'm talking about the politics of the Burlington metropolitan area. That is what dominates Vermont, and it has brought us to this particular point where we're looking at things like completely fundamentally changing the nature of our elections and having no protective measures to ensure the integrity of our election. Absolutely subverting American citizenship, subverting our voices as American citizens. All these things come because the politics of that particular area completely monopolize that of the rest. And I fundamentally disagree. I vehemently disagree with that. The rest of Vermont is very much one of small towns, and I absolutely believe that Vermonters of all stripes have big hearts, and they are unfortunately not represented. They're not represented, and that's not okay. Which is why I'm so concerned. What's going to happen if they do mail-in voting? If they rig the elections and they steal it, what's going to happen to us? I mean, tomorrow there won't be other people even striving. There won't even be, voices stepping up and saying, "Hey, look, I want to make a difference." That won't even happen. That's why I'm a little emotional today, and I'm concerned. But I really hope that this can all become, obsolete, because there won't be a shutdown anymore. Things will clear up, and we can move forward. I'm just going to keep pressing on, and I hope that you will join me by demanding that our elections in 2020 and moving forward are absolutely preserved in terms of integrity. Absolutely preserved. That needs to be number one. Otherwise, I don't know what's going to happen to Vermont, and I'm very, very afraid of I'm very afraid of that outcome.